All right. What's happening, everybody? Today we are doing a Hendrix, everything Hendrix. Actually, I have this guitar. This guitar I bought because of Jimi Hendrix. So today we're going to talk about his guitars, his chords, his riffs, his pedals, his amps, everything you want to sound like Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was my #1 inspiration. So actually, I bought this guitar when I was 13. Me and my grandma went to a place called Mars Music. Mars Music doesn't exist anymore. It was like a competitor with Guitar Center. And we just went and hung out. And I saw the guitar and I said, Jimi Hendrix has a white Strat. I want a white Strat. And so took it down, started playing it. I've had this guitar for 20 years. It's got some dents in it, right? You could see some chunks out of it. And that's okay, right? That's life. That's guitar. And then in 8th grade, I had my guitar teacher put in these lace sensors because I was like, oh, I love Eric Clapton. So Eric Clapton was my hero at one point. And then this it's a Sir humbucker because I wanted to sound like Eric Clapton, or I wanted to sound like AC/DC without buying a new guitar because, you know, when you're a teenager, you're broke. But essentially, all that to say is this guitar and the way I play is 100% stemmed from Hendrix. Now let's talk about what makes Hendrix so special, and then we'll get into all the gear, the pedals that I'm using to make it sound like Hendrix, and then the amp. Okay, so for me, Hendrix, there's a lot of riffs, like power riffs. So instead of playing, here, I'm going to turn off some of these effects so you can hear what I'm doing more clearly. So for me, a lot of what he does is instead of playing like, you know, pretty chords like that, Hendrix doesn't do that. Hendrix is all about like a riff, a powerful riff. So, you know, like Foxy Lady, you know, and I'll turn on all the overdrive, and then you add all the fuzz, and you add the univibe, and then you add an octave up sound, and then you get this crazy sound. Right? So for me, Hendrix is all about playing really, really cool, really powerful riffs. So that's like step 1 in trying to sound like Hendrix. Don't play big old clunky chords. You know, play riffs. You know, something like, you know, he does. You know, playing like these like double stops, these powerful riffs. You know, playing. So keep that in mind when you're trying to emulate Hendrix. Try not to do like big old major 7, minor 7 chords. That's not gonna sound that great, right? And I learned that the hard way, right? You're playing these like distorted rock chords, and when you have distortion on, I wouldn't recommend playing more than 3 notes at a time. So you have overdrive or fuzz on, like Jimi always does. Just play power chords, or just play triads, you know, or Like that kind of stuff, you know, just triadic stuff. And so when a lot of the fun happens too is like the way he's using his guitar. He's using a lot of just like this pickup is like fully towards me, or he's ripping it with the pickup fully like in the bridge position. So like this, you're over here, like this, you're over here, okay? And the reason I have a humbucker is literally because I love Led Zeppelin and AC/DC, but I didn't have the money when you're like 14 to buy a whole new Les Paul. Like, that's ridiculous. So I just put in a humbucker. And Jimi, so a lot of people say, oh, Jimi wouldn't use a humbucker. Well, he played a lot of, he played a Flying V, Gibson Flying V. He played a lot of different guitars. So he wasn't just a Strat guy. He wasn't just a Strat purist. He was Jimi. He could make anything sing. So let's get into some of this gear. And what I'm going to do, I have a pedal board built that I was just messing around the other day, and I had all these extra pedals, and I was like, I really am hearing these sounds in my head, and I want to put together a pedal board, and lo and behold, it's basically like a Jimi Hendrix pedal board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this angle, and I'm going to show you exactly what's happening on. So here, come on over here. So let's check it out. So we have this pedal board. Well, we have this pedal board, and I am going to flip the camera around. So we have this pedal board. So check it out. My guitar is going into this pedal. This is an EP booster. Really, EP is just like an Echoplex. So this was like an echo machine back in the day, but it also contained a preamp, and the preamp was super powerful and saturated the sound. So I like to run my guitar just into this just a little bit, right? Just a little bit to give me a little dirt and a little crunch. And then I'm going, so like here, I'll show you on without it, like with it, without it. So here's with it. Oh, let me turn off this pedal. So this is with it, this is without it. With it, just a little fatter. All right, and then the next thing I do is I run into this. This is my #1 fuzz pedal, okay? This is the 200 pounds of gold. It's a love pedal, okay? These are my settings. It's actually, the drive is not that high, if you see. So Jimi used a fuzz face. Clearly, we're not in 1969 anymore. All those parts don't really exist the same way that they existed back then, so we have to do our best to have emulation. So here is what it sounds like with this pedal on. Okay? All right, and here's the final step in this Jimi Sound. This is a Univibe pedal. Okay? So this Univibe sound is, it's just pulsing. See, so like I can adjust the volume, which I'd never really do, but I can also adjust the ratio. Right? I can adjust the speed and the depth, which is like how deep those waves, the wow, 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 how deep those waves go. All right, and then here's something I like to do that Jimi didn't necessarily do. I like to throw in a little, this is a flanger delay. So you guys, if you don't know, Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Kramer invented flanger for his Axis Bold as Love album in, I believe, 1969. They used flanger for the first time ever in recorded history. And so while Jimi never used flanger live, this is a flange delay pedal, and I like to throw it on just to kind of give it a little hint of Jimi. Okay, so we're gonna let's see how all this stuff sounds together. So I'm just gonna play a low E. Okay, and then turn this on. Now, what I like to do too is there is a boost pedal right here. This is like boosts the signal. And then here's the creme de la creme. I didn't even show you this, but this is an octave up pedal. So this is any note I play, it plays the same note, just an octave up. So if I play like a low E, it's playing the E on the 12th fret. which is really, really cool sound. So it sounds like this. It's like a ferocious sound. Okay? And so here, all this stuff is running. So you're going to have to run it into a Marshall amp. Now, clearly, I don't have a Marshall amp that can be on volume level 10. So here, I'm going to show you my Marshall amp simulator because I can't have an amp on volume level 10. Otherwise, my wife would just kill me. So here's what I'm doing over here. Check it out. So I'm using this Strymon Iridium, and I have it set on a Marshall setting. So that little punch is a Marshall setting. And I have it set on like a just a standard Marshall with a little bit of crunch. It's running into my computer that just went on mute. Okay, so that is the Jimi. That's the Jimi pathway. That's the Jimi signal. I'm gonna place this. So if you were wondering how to get a Jimi Hendrix sound, if you were wondering how to, sorry about that. If you're wondering how to get that Jimi tone, that Jimi feel, that's how you do it. I just gave you the keys to the highway. So I'm gonna play you out. I don't want this to be too long of a live stream. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. And I just love the way this stuff sounds, you know. And so here's another thing. A cool thing about a fuzz pedal is a fuzz pedal cleans up when you turn down the volume. So say I'm like super crunchy, right? But when I roll the volume back, it cleans up perfectly, right? It's like a clean sound. So effectively, I could have my fuzz on the whole time and just use my volume for just ripping it, you know, depending. So cool. So I am going to now show you another idea of a little fuzz. So if you're just joining me, welcome. I realize this camera's a little crooked. There we go, we're fixing it. So if you are just joining me, welcome. Just going over Jimi Hendrix's guitar choices, his pedal choices, and his amp choices so you can replicate this. So I went over the guitar. This guitar is about $700, or was at the time. These pedals, the EP booster should be about $100. The 200 pounds of gold, if you wait, the Love pedal devices, they always go on sale. Like he'll just do a flash sale, and you know, you can get it for maybe $150. Recommend. And then also the Purple Believe pedal that was doing the octave up thing, that can also go for about $150. But if you get it used on Reverb, it'll go for like, it can go for up to like $250, $300. So I would just wait till you can get it from the source and the dealer himself. And then the JHS Univibe, I honestly can't remember how much that costs. And I would say about $150. And the Echoes is also which is a Keeley, the flangery delay thing. That is about, I would say $200. So all in, you're looking at, you're looking at a pretty penny to get, and then you got to get an amp, right? So the stuff ain't cheap, but I mean, there you go. That's how you would do it. You could do it cheaper if you wanted to do like just everything on your laptop. But this is how I would do it. Like if I was going to go to a gig, I would use a similar setup, and then I would just use a real amp. I would use like a Marshall amp instead of a digital simulator, because again, I have a digital simulator because it's just me in this house, or me and my wife, so there's no way I can actually turn up an amp unless I would want to, I don't know, sleep on the couch for the next week. So yeah, I also love playing this setup. I love playing this setup with a Les Paul. And the reason I like playing with the Les Paul is sometimes when I play this whole signal chain with it, like it's Jimi's signal chain, I kind of feel like I can't help but play Jimi's like riffs essentially. But if you change just one thing, say you just change the guitar, you change it to a Les Paul, or you change it to a Tele, all of a sudden it has a whole different vibe. So that'd be like the next step in making Jimi sound your own, right? Like this whole signal chain, then change out the guitar, change out, you know, maybe a pickup, play a Les Paul or a Telecaster, and then all of a sudden you have a new way of hearing the sound, and you're gonna play different. Because when I hear this sound, like in this exact signal chain, I just play Jimi-esque, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the greatest sound ever. But it's one of those things that yeah, I love. Essentially what I like to teach here at Soulful Guitar Lessons is taking things and making them your own, right? So we always want to take concepts from folks that are the world's greatest musicians, guitar players, but then make it our own right away. Otherwise we're kind of stuck just emulating people. We're never like making our own voice. And I love hammering home the point of just like making your own voice here at Soulful Guitar Lessons. All right, so I'm gonna play a little bit, and then if you have any questions, hit that chat box. I'm gonna just pull this down a little bit. Kind of shoddy camera work today, so thanks for bearing with me. It's a crazy sound. I'm not sure how well it's translating to like going live here, but in the room it sounds awesome. So thank you so much for being a part of this community, Soulful Guitar Lessons. I hope today was helpful for you, learning a little bit about Jimi Hendrix, his guitar, his setup, his pedal choices, or how to get close to his sound, and then his amp choices. Also, one thing to note before I sign off for the day, Jimi Hendrix almost always tuned in a half-step tuning, so Jimi would be playing like E flat, A flat. So he tuned every string down half step. So that's something to keep in mind. The reason he did that is because, well, for two reasons. One is the strings are a little looser, so you can bend them. You can get like a little more oomph from them, but also it just gives the guitar a different sound. That's the reason why Van Halen tuned down half step. That's the reason why Slash from Guns N' Roses tuned down a half step. There's a lot of gospel musicians that tune down a half step, and that's for a different reason, right? Because piano players always playing the black keys, and guitar players, it's just easier to tune down a half step and playing the black keys. But, you know, all these different reasons why guitar players would tune down a half step. And it's just something to keep in note when you're trying to emulate Jimi. So thank you so much for tuning into Soulful Guitar Lessons. Give this video, if you stuck around for the whole 20 minutes, give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.